Good evening and welcome to a very special presentation on tonight's edition of On the Infield, where we're going to take a very close look at the career of Ross Wright. For over 40 years, Ross is one of the most dedicated and decorated speedway identities here in South Australia, in a career that included stock rods, V8 Jet modifieds, super sedans and sprint cars. Just prior to Ross's untimely death, Katrina Hall caught up with Ross, his son Darryl and good mate Les Baker to learn more about the man himself.
My absolute pleasure to be sitting here today with Ross Wright, who is an absolute legend of stock rods, hot rods, V8 Jet modifieds and 360 sprint cars. How many years have you actually been racing for?
Started September 1958. That's about 50 years.
Yeah, that's a very long time to be racing. What memorable moments have you had during that time?
We won an Aussie title. I just don't know, can't remember what day it was, but we won an Australian title. We won Sportsman of the Year, pretty close to that same day too. It's been that good that really there's nothing that just sticks out.
That sounds like a fantastic career, and I've been privileged enough to be here at your final go in that sprint car today. With the support of your family has been overwhelming. How's it felt for you?
Yeah, I got a little bit emotional. Probably will again.
That's okay, we're all here and no one else can see, but there is family in the background, and it is superb to be here today to witness this. And it's just my pleasure to be sitting here with this absolute champion. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, I used to be backup driver with Bill Wiggs or Kevin Fisher. I don't know, a lot of people would know Kevin Fisher. He raced two sprint cars, used to bring American out, and when the American went home, I used to run the sprint car. The best I ever done was fourth in the state title at Raleigh Park, so I was quite rapt with that. I led it for about 36 laps and got donged in the last four. So,
that can't be a good thing.
No, I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed all my racing.
We all know that for the past few years you've been teamed up with your son Darryl. How's it been racing with him?
Yes, very good. He's getting better and better every year. It's very hard for him to run a 372 because those guys run 400 metres a year and he runs about 13, so it makes it very hard for him.
Yeah, it's certainly been a very impressive career, and it's my absolute privilege to be sitting here alongside of you right now.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody I've met in the Speedway has really been fantastic. We've had some good times. As Lorraine would know, Baker would know, we used to race Weiler and Renmark one weekend, or stupid things like that back in those days. We used to race all over the place, and we met a lot of people and had a lot of good friends.
Certainly meet good friends in Speedway.
Yeah, so and it's been good the last few years too. It's I can't complain. My wife's put up with a hell of a lot changing nappies at the Speedway, and because she always I think there's only one time she didn't go and I lost my wedding ring that night. I'm fairly sure I did it, because we never used to wear gloves and it got hooked up in the steering wheel and done her in. It's up Renmark somewhere. But
did you get in trouble for it?
I don't think so. No. It's and like I've had the brother racing too. He was fairly good. I think he won a few Aussie titles, and brother Bruce had a go. But yeah, so it's been in the family a long time, the Speedway, and like to get a few more, and we'll see how we go. Put up a fight.
What was it like racing against Darryl?
The fun?
What was it like racing against Darryl?
Oh, if he could hit me, he was very happy at the start.
Good luck.
Now I can't catch him. Yeah, no, it makes it hard when you're racing, or it's bad enough racing against a brother. It's
let alone the son.
Let alone the son, yeah. But one good thing about it, I think he used to pick on brother Dean more than me. So yeah, he's happy. But no, it's really been a fantastic time in my life. No, I can't think of anything else, Tim. Well, the first time I drove a sprint car was at was one of Fisher's cars, and after coming out of the hot rods, it was twice as fast. The seat used to hit in the back and away you'd go. And one year down at Mount Gambier, I raced at Renmark Saturday night, and Warrnambool was on Sunday night, so we drove down to Warrnambool Sunday night. Bill Wigsell blew up the motor in the number 1 car, and I smashed the number 2 car up in practice. So
It was worth the drive then.
yeah, it wasn't a happy moment for me, but Kevin Fisher was very understanding. He said if you just as well you was racing, otherwise it would have been the end of your career with me. So yeah, no, he was a great guy, Kevin Fisher. And you know, like I went to Newcastle, Peter Gabriel, I think his name was, paid me $400 to go to Newcastle, and they all run rear vision mirrors up there, so it was very hard to pass cars when they run rear vision mirrors. And I got put rear field in the first lap because I spun one out, and Aussie won out because I was Aussie 1 too, and I spun their Aussie 1 out, so I got put a rear field. Come out in 3rd position, and that was from position 20, and I came out 3rd position in the first corner. But then had another restart, took a bit longer. I finished up getting 2nd, I think. But yeah, no, it's been a great career. I've enjoyed every minute of it. You get enough out of that, mate?
Did you ever have a favourite track?
This one here, I think, is favourite track. Especially when it was dirt. I'm an old dirt guy like Dean Hogarth and guys like that. They always raced on dirt, and clay is very hooky. But you get used to clay after a while. But I never ever driven the sprint car here really fast, not like out of control. I'm always in control. Otherwise I scare myself too much. And that's true.
Okay, sitting next to me on my right hand side is Darryl Wright, son of legend Ross Wright. What's it been like driving with Dad?
It's been fantastic. Speedway's been all my life. Don't really recall anything else but Speedway. Every weekend was either at the track or travelling somewhere. Eventually that's all I was ever going to do was drive, I suppose.
Have you had any to-dos out there with Dad that have caused altercations off the track?
Dad went overseas there at one stage, and I decided I was going to run his car because it was faster, and we blew it up, taking it off the trailer virtually. So that was the last time he let me drive his car.
What about when you headed into the double header of being a team in sprint cars? What was that like?
Yeah, no, that's great. It's good to have Team Car out there. It's good for the promotion, for the sponsors, and it's hard racing against family, it's hard racing against friends, but in the end it's all good.
So once the helmet goes on, it's all another world.
Yeah, well, once the helmet goes on, I'm still thinking about him, but I want to beat him too.
So now that we know a little story about the car being blown up on the trailer, what's Dad got to say about it?
Well, it happens. It's just one of those things in Speedway. You can spend $40,000 on a motor and blow it up. And I think a couple of seasons ago we done the sprinter up and put all new valves in it, didn't we? It didn't even last the race and made a hell of a mess. And so it's something that happens. It doesn't happen very often, which is good.
Is there anything that you'd like to say before we finish?
No, I'd just like to congratulate Dad on what he's done in Speedway, and I'm just happy that we're involved and he got me involved with it. I've been happy, I've enjoyed all my time in Speedway, so it's been fantastic.
Beautiful, thank you very much. Okay, I'm sitting here now with Les Baker, who is an ex-rival of Ross Wright and also ex-rival Dean Wright, who is a brother. We'll start with Dean. What was it like driving with your brother?
No, well, he started driving before myself, and I guess that's the reason I got into Speedway. Used to knock around out on the farm with old bombs what he'd bring home, what he used to race, and and I finished up starting. That was a long time ago now, but back in about 68, I suppose, I don't know.
Okay, was the rivalry as big on the track as it was off the track?
Oh yes, we went out there was no brother stuff, not on my half anyway. I went out there to win races, and regardless who it was, so yeah, we had a lot of good races together for sure.
Anything that stands out that you can talk about?
Oh, nothing in particular, I don't think. There's many a times we tangled and one of us would finish up against the fence or whatever, but that was just racing, and there's nothing really that stands out. I can't really think of anything that stand out in the 25 years I was racing that is any different than any other. That was all great times for the whole 25 years, you know, that's the main point.
Okay, if you did tangle on the track, was it left on the track or was it brought off as well?
No, it was always left on the track. There was, now and again, there was a couple of different customers we used to get out there, and that probably wasn't all left on the track, but definitely anything between Ross and myself was, yeah.
Sounds good. Now we'll turn to Les and see what his views. What was it like racing with either of these guys?
I had my moments and they had their moments with me, and I very first met Ross when he was up in Albert Terrace. I used to live in Thomas Street, and I used to hear this motor rev up at night time, so I had to go down to see what it was, and it was the Wright's place, and it was the Wright's just full with stock rods. He had about 3 stock rods there with his brother-in-laws Malcolm Wakefield and Ross's, and I think sometimes might have been Dean, but there was about 3 or 4 rods always in Albert Terrace at Ross's place. So that's when I very first met Ross, and from then he taught me into going into Speedway, and I bought a car, and then I got involved, and our friendship just grew from in Speedway, and we had many arrivals on the circuit. They were good ones and they were bad ones, and we used to have the Ross Wright crowd and the Les Baker's crowd, one either side of the grandstand, no, either side of the start finishing line, and we had to be the bad boys of Speedway to get the crowd in, and I think we got the crowd in quite well at times. And then a few years later, I was working in milling industries, and Ross came and got me to do some work, and then I finished up going to work for Steriline with Ross, and of course our Speedway got stronger, and our motors got better, and our cars got more competitive, and then Ross, we used to tangle sometimes on the Speedway track, and we were working together, and one Monday morning I can remember going to work, and Ross was working up one end of the shed and I was working up the other. But by the end of the week, we were back together. So we had our moments on the track, and it was good, wasn't it, old fella?
It was, yeah, really good.
And is there anything, Ross, that you'd like to say about either your brother or Les?
Wait a minute, I'm not finished yet.
Right, here we go.
We got many.
For a few hours
That's what I got him for. I don't have to say anything.
okay, right, good idea. Keep going then.
Yeah.
Go for it.
And then we moved over to Eastside, and Ross used to live on Lookout Drive, and I lived on Teely Road, and we used to get our race cars and burn up and down the road. And one day I'd done my Chrysler in, and Ross had a 292 engine, and he was keen on this, what was it, a V6 something?
The V6 or
It was a V6 and was going to kill us all. So we finished up, my motor blew up, and he let me have a lend of his motor. Like a good sport Ross would, if he had anything that you were broken down, Ross would always help you out, and it was real good. And so we had to travel all the way to Whyalla for this race, and Ross thought he had the quickest V6 in a straight line. It was quick. I can remember going up Lookout Drive. It was quick, and so we finished up. I got his 292, and we went to Whyalla, and I was very fortunate. I beat him with his old engine. Yeah. Thanks, Ross. I can always remember that one. Yeah. And it's just Speedway has been our name and game, and our friendship will always be there. And it's good to have a friend like Ross Wright. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Now, on a totally emotional note, Ross, do you have anything to say to these guys?
No, I've enjoyed racing with both of them. It's
very hard to say. It's like a big family, and Speedway is a big family, and I've been very lucky to race with them.
It's just fantastic to see that you've kept these friends over all these years. It's awesome to see. Thank you.
A lot of them. There's that many you meet. We used to race in Victoria a lot, and there's that many people you meet in Renmark, and we always have a bit of a chat. I took a couple of mates out in the houseboat we used to race against Christmas, just before Christmas, and we had a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ross is a real sportsman. He would always go out of your way if you had something broken. And all of us, we all used to help one another. Dean was always around. If you need a helping hand, he would give you a helping hand. And our class of the hot rods was fantastic, and I'll never forget a moment that we all raced together. It was fantastic.
Like my wife was saying before, I got the best incident up at Renmark 2 years straight. I ran up the wall, nearly took the judge's box out, come down. That year I got the best crash, and I got the same thing next year and I didn't do it. It was such a good crash they gave it to me 2 years straight. Yeah, so, but you could, 50 years of your life or 40 years of your life, and Dean's done probably 25, 30. You could write a book on it for sure. Just remembering it all is the hardest part.
Yeah, there was many good stories to be told about the rods over the years. You know, we used to go to Renmark every year at Easter, and we used to have a ball up there. And the early days in, like Ross said, we used to go to Renmark, and they never used to have any fences. And I remember once rolling over up there and laid on the side until the race finished, and it seemed forever. And Dean would remember some of them incidents up there also.
Yeah, going up Renmark and that, we used to, couldn't even afford trailers back in them days. Used to A-bar them up there and get home at just about daylight when you got back to Murray Bridge next morning, and plenty of stops on the way to have a beer and all that. It's definitely some great stories that you can sit down and you can just talk for hours, but just trying to get them on the spur of the moment and talk about them, it's pretty hard. So it's but this was a great little club for rods where we all started, and it was just a little tin shed we had for a club room, and it's just bonded everyone together, and it was definitely the best club and the best class that was racing at the time, and we were very lucky to be in it, I guess. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I can remember going down to Mount Gambier many times with Ross and Val to go hot rod race or stock rod racing them days, and many stories we could tell about the weather down at Mount Gambier, but you never know when it's going to rain or shine down there. And many a nights we stayed in the caravan park and pitched our tent, and used to bucket down raining, so we used to go and play cards in the caravan park, didn't we, Ross?
Yeah, play cards, and back in those days too, we actually had trailers, didn't we?
Yeah, we had trailers.
We had to have about 20 spare tyres though, because they weren't real good. Hot rod tyres and everything to get us home. But yeah, no, they're all been really good days, and like I said before, you meet that many people, and it's hard to keep up with them all. But you just don't forget them. You crash into them, and a lot of them still come over here to some speedway meetings that raced in Victoria, and when I remember their names, they have to introduce themselves, and I'm right.
There's one instance I like to say with both brothers that I was very privileged and to race against them when we all won Australian titles. Dean's won three, I think. Ross has won one, I won one, and we all competed against one another in them championships. And I was very honoured to be able to race against the Wright boys and win one.
Now that we've actually met Ross Wright, we'll now cross to his very last drive ever in a sprint car that was held at the Murray Bridge Speedway on January 11, and you can see that despite the illness, Ross had lost none of his speed as we now cross to his final ever drive at the Murray Bridge Speedway.
fellas.
Next.
What's her name?
Yeah, Mum.
Peter. I missed that one.
Just do one at a time. I'll just bring it to Steve and tell him to get out here.
But what about Rat and Hannah?
Alright, well thanks for joining us on tonight's edition of On the Infield, and don't forget to join us next edition when we actually continue a look at Ross Wright's career, where we have a good look at some of the cars he drove and some of the footage from some of the races throughout his stellar career. So please join us again in 2 weeks' time, where we continue on with part 2 of the Ross Wright tribute here on the Infield.
That means that the